Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Ignored by Rias and Fell in Love with Koneko movie. Before we start, please go support AlexanderTaldeer for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Issei loses in the rating game against Razor Phoenix and also fails in the attempt to stop Ria's wedding. After that he thinks, this can't get any worse, but fate had other plans for the poor brown-haired boy. Betrayed. After Issei failed in his attempt to stop Ria's marriage to the Phoenix, he felt the worst for not being able to protect the woman he loved the most. For being completely weak he couldn't protect her. That's what the poor brown-haired boy thought. However, after that Rias ordered him to finish the ceremony and go directly to the occult research room. The brown-haired boy felt terrible for hearing the cold tone with which his mistress had addressed him. He also felt uncomfortable when he felt the disappointed looks of Kiba, Asia and Akeno, but he was surprised by what Koneko told him before leaving. "You did your best, senpai, don't feel bad," exclaimed Koneko, hugging Chestnut in a hallway with no one around. "Thanks Koneko-chan, that cheers me up a lot." Issei was stunned to feel his lips being claimed by Koneko. After that Koneko told him. "Congratulations senpai," said the lowly before retiring back to the party. But the brunette was in a complete state of shock. He couldn't even move. He was in a sea of questions and emotions. Leaving that aside, he headed towards the occult research club. Inside the party. "Where were you, Koneko?" said Rias in a cold tone. I was just wanted to get some fresh air," exclaimed the nervous albino loli. It's okay after the humiliation that Issei has given us, it's good that you went to relax," said Rias, disappointed and furious. Koneko didn't say anything, she just felt that Rias was ungrateful after everything Issei sacrificed for her. She also felt disappointed in Kiba, Asia and Akeno, who agreed with what Rias said. She just stood there watching where Issei had gone. "But that humiliation that Issei gave us won't stay like that, right Rias?" Akeno exclaimed with some anger. "Of course not, Akeno. Issei will be punished as he deserves, apart from the fact that he had the audacity to come and interrupt my wedding," exclaimed the bitch, I mean the Gremory. This left the albino loli stunned, who held back the urge to hit Rias for what she said about the brown-haired boy. Hours later, occult research club. Issei was lying on the club floor in a large pool of blood full of cuts, burns and spasms from Akeno's lightning. What happened? Well, for that, we have to go back a little. Flashback. "Issei, where are you?" Rias exclaimed coldly. "Here I am, Butchagog." He fell to the floor when he felt the edge of Kiba's sword on his abdomen. "Don't you dare call me that again, low-class devil. Not only did you fail me in the rating game, but you had the audacity to crash my wedding." Rias exclaimed angrily before launching a beam of destruction at the poor brown-haired boy, who only screamed in pain before vomiting blood. "But you ag," the brunette tried to say before Akeno threw a lightning bolt at him, leaving the brunette in spasms. "Shut up Issei, didn't you hear what Rias said? Don't call her that." Akeno exclaimed angrily. Koneko just saw that with a lot of pain in her heart at that moment. She tried to attack Rias and the others, but a look from Issei told her not to do anything. She just started to cry before running away from the place. End of flashback. At that moment Asia approaches him, heals him a little, and then Rias says, "Get ready scum, that's what will await you every day," exclaimed Rias. At that moment, a certain blonde phoenix appears, goes to Rias and kisses her, and then takes her away. Issei felt used, angry and wanted to kill those bastards, including Asia, who watched him being tortured with a smile. Issei was about to let himself die when suddenly he felt someone hug him and cry in his chest. That someone was. "Hey Koneko-chan," Issei said with difficulty. "Shhh rest senpai," said the albino loli before kissing Issei and falling asleep next to her love. A few hours later. Issei woke up feeling a familiar presence nearby. At that the lights turned on, Issei instinctively tried to stand up, but the pain in his muscles let him fall on the ground, or so he thought when he saw how someone was holding him, and that someone was Saji. "What have they done to you, Haidu?" said Saji worriedly. "Saji, let's take him with us," exclaimed a person known to the brown-haired man. "So Nakaichu," exclaimed Issei before fainting. Days later. The routine was the same. Every day after school they always tortured Issei until he was close to the brink of death. If it weren't for Sona, Yura, Tsubaki and mainly Koneko, Issei would have let himself die. Issei endured it, and he also had his parents, but life is sometimes too unfair. Haidu residence afternoon. Issei arrived home and immediately felt that something was very wrong. Apart from the fact that the lights in the house were all off, a strong burning smell could be smelled coming from the patio. Upon reaching the backyard, Issei was horrified to see that horrifying scene, seeing his parents split in half and burn until they were charred. At that, something inside Issei broke. "Partner, I sense a very familiar trace of magic in your parents' corpses." The dragon exclaimed worriedly. "I know Drake, that damn razor is going to pay me, I swear." exclaimed the brown-haired boy before carrying the corpses of his parents and flying towards a mountain and burying them there. The day had already passed, and Issei was heading to the student council room to inform Sona that he was going to leave for a few weeks to Tokyo and clear his mind after the death of his parents. Of course, Sona told him that she was fine. Issei said goodbye to Yura, Sona and Tsubaki with a kiss on the lips before leaving in search of his beloved Loli. When he found her, she was sitting on a hill near the court looking towards a dead end. The brown-haired man slowly approached him from behind and covered his Loli's eyes, who upon feeling the brown-haired man's scent just smiled. "Hello Issei," exclaimed the albino Loli, caressing Issei's cheek. Issei hugged Koneko from behind, while his head peeked out from the Loli's shoulder, who took Issei by the cheek and kissed him on the lips. Issei, for his part, only reciprocated his Loli's kiss because, to be honest, he became addicted to Koneko's lips. He also explained to her what he was going to do and that he was going on a trip to Tokyo, which she accepted because her beloved should have some time to relax. Weeks later. Issei thought that going to Tokyo would help him relax, but he only found more problems than solutions. Not only had he been turned into a demon that eats human flesh, ghoul, but he had to face many things to end up alive and thus be able to return to Kao safe and sound and thus meet his girls, but especially Koneko. Academic Kao world human. Issei was watching the academic in the distance, but at that moment he felt a great trace of sacred magic and a great power coming from there, and without further ado, he left with his companion, a girl with dark blue hair, bangs that covered her right eye, you know how Taka usually dresses. Upon arriving at the academia, he could see Rias and the others exhausted as well as Razor's entourage. Meanwhile, Razor was next to Kakabiel, both laughing non-stop. Issei for his part saw the ring on Razor's left finger, and then he understood all that ring was a power domination ring, a demonic artifact capable of absorbing the powers of those who are at its side. This affected both Rias and the others, as well as Razor's entourage. At that moment Kakabiel launched a spear of light against Koneko, but at that instant Issei appeared in front of Koneko, stopping and subsequently pulverizing the spear of light with the help of his glove. "What were you trying to do to my Koneko?" the albino exclaimed with anger in his voice. "Issei-senpai," whispered the lowly albino before fainting from extreme exhaustion. "Who are you?" exclaimed the crow. "Ah, I see, you're the Sekiryute I beat up, you're that scum Issei, right?" exclaimed the fried chicken with a smile. "Listen, dyed blonde, provoke me and you'll regret it. Besides, I still have outstanding accounts with you," Issei exclaimed angrily. "Ah, and what would you do if you couldn't even protect your parents?" said the blonde with an arrogant tone. At that Issei gets angry and launches himself at Razor at high speed, hitting him in the stomach, knocking out his breath and making him spit blood. In turn, he punches Kakabiel in the face, knocking out 3 of his teeth and sending him crashing. "Nobody touches my Koneko," exclaimed Issei before launching himself against Kakabiel, materializing his gauntlet. But before Issei hit Kakabiel, he took flight believing that he had confused Issei, but it was not like that at that moment. Issei activated his Kagyun and filled the crow Japuta's body with holes. "That's what you get for hurting my Koneko," exclaimed Issei with plenty of fury, but at that moment he turned his sight to a certain fried chicken. "Now, only you are missing," Issei exclaimed before launching himself at the chicken, covering him with cuts and blows. "This is for my parents," Issei exclaimed, kicking him in the stomach and sending him flying. At that moment Issei appeared on top of the phoenix. "This is for hurting Koneko." Issei threw him to the ground again with a kick to the chest. At the same time Issei was already waiting for him on the ground when the phoenix fell. He took him by the neck and said, "And this is because I feel like it." Issei materialized his boosted gear, gave a few boosts, and then threw the chicken back. When the chicken opened its eyes, the only thing he could see was the dragon shot towards him and then gave a great heart-rending scream and then fell unconscious. Everyone was speechless seeing Issei's great combat ability apart from his great power and those strange tentacles on his back until Kiba approached Issei. Issei kunai tried to say Kiba, but Taka appeared in front of Kiba, hitting him in the face, sending him flying backwards and then crashing there. "Don't get close to Issei," exclaimed Taka with anger. Issei ignored that and just thanked Taka, then he carried Koneko in his arms ready to leave, but someone broke the barrier, coming down in a flash of blue light. "You're late, Hahiruku," exclaimed Issei with a half smile on his face. "I see that you easily defeated Kakabiel and that fried chicken. Congratulations, you may be a worthy opponent, but that will be later. I have to deliver the crow and that priest as evidence for Azazel," exclaimed the Hahiruku before disappearing. "As you say, I must take care of my lowly," lifts Koneko and puts her on his sword. "I also have to see what to do with them," pointing at Razor's former entourage, "and send that chicken to the dungeon and give my reports to Surzich's Sama," exclaimed Issei, grabbing Razor by the collar of his jacket and then being surrounded by the chicken's former girls. "See you another time," exclaimed both dragons before each one goes their own way. Issei, what a joy, Vert. Rias tried to say, but Issei exclaimed angrily. Don't talk to me and don't look for me because then I won't be responsible for what happened to you and them pointing at Asia and Akeno Issei exclaimed with plenty of anger. Issei-kun, you're not like that, Akeno said with the typical sensual tone she always used. You're right, I wasn't like that, but you took it upon yourself to turn me into the person you see here now, day after day torturing me until I was almost dead for no apparent reason. At first, I was afraid of you, then that led me to suffering, that suffering turned into hate, and now it turns into evil and madness. If you're wondering why I don't kill you here and now, it's simple, because you don't deserve for me to kill you, in fact, you don't even deserve for me to hate you. If before I felt the purest love and desire to protect you with my life, now I only feel indifference towards you. Live or die, I don't care, but I warn you. Activates his Kagyun if you dare to hurt Koneko, directs 3 of his 4 tentacles where Asia, Rias, and Akeno point at their foreheads, he swore that they will not live to tell the tale. The 3 Gremory and the 2 exorcists were in shock, while the ex-chicken girls looked at Issei with a strong blush not only for his new appearance, but also for protecting the girl he loved. Issei please. Rias tried to say again, but Issei cut her off again. You fell for this guy's lies, you believed every damn word he said he loved you. You tortured me because your so-called beloved told you he was okay, tears start to fall. I gave everything for you, I tried hard to help you, I trained to the point of extreme exhaustion to become strong and help you even more tears start to fall, and her voice starts to break, but how did you pay me back with betrayal and painful torture, if it weren't for Sona Kaichu? Tsubaki-san and Yuri-chan apart from Saji I would have died hopelessly after every damn torture, but more than anything I especially thank Koneko for being by my side that prevented me from falling into madness you know. I would have stopped fighting to live and just let myself die, but I tell you something I didn't do it because Drake told me. You must live for those who love you, for those you truly care about. If it weren't for those words of encouragement and the support of the true people who now I can say are the people I appreciate the most Surziches-sama, Grafia-san, Venelana-san, Zedeka-sama, Koneko-chan, Taka-chan and my friends from Tokyo helped me overcome the disappointment I felt at having been betrayed by all of you. They were in charge of helping me and supporting me, while Koneko, Sona, Tsubaki, Yura and Taka were in charge of healing my wounded and destroyed heart, Issei said through tears, but he didn't break down easily. Issei, I'm sorry, I was stupid, I shouldn't have let that scoundrel Razor fool me, but please don't leave us, we're so sorry, Rias exclaimed between tears and sobs. Issei-kun, please friend don't abandon us. Said the Gremory Knight, but Issei shut him up with a punch in the stomach. You shut up bastard said Issei angrily, and don't you dare call me friend or partner, because since you participated in the torture against me, you stopped being my friend and my partner, and if you don't want to die stay away from me. Turns around and carries Koneko bridal style. Goodbye bunch of idiots, it was not a pleasure to see you again said Issei with a cold voice and without feeling. Taka grabbed the chicken by the feet, leaving it hanging upside down. Let's take him to Surziches-sama so he'll know what to do Taka exclaimed calmly. If you're right, let's go there at that moment Issei spreads his dragon wings and flies away. Rias sees something lying on the spot where Issei was, and when she gets closer and sees what it is she feels like the few hopes she had with the albino had vanished. That something that was lying on the floor were the 8 pawn pieces. Back to school. After Issei and Taka handed Razor over to Surziches and he was judged and sent to the dungeon apart from being removed from the future heir of the Phoenix family, Issei was now resting in his mansion in the underworld with Koneko and Taka who hugged Issei with affection, and Koneko is still unconscious. How Academy. It had only been half an hour since Issei left Rias, and what was left of his entourage was totally hurt by Issei's words, but deep down they knew they deserved them, me. Of course they know bitch. Alex. I'll kill them, I will kill them. Me. Calm down, there's no need to seek revenge, there's nothing sweeter than seeing how life is charging you for everything they did to you. Issei exactly, I wonder what they will try to do. Taldeer. Shut up since I want to sleep. Issei, Alex and I. Oh okay on the way. Irina, who was the only one who had heard what Rias and those others had done to Issei, only withdrew from the place and preferred not to say anything to Xenovia because she had fallen unconscious due to the excess energy she spent when summoning Durandal. Rias-sama, may I ask you a favor? Exclaimed the ex-exorcist wielder of Durandal. What do you want Xenovia-san? Rias exclaimed with difficulty because she had cried quite a bit before Issei's words. I could join your entourage, the ex-exorcist exclaimed respectfully. Of course, if that's what you want Rias exclaimed calmly, not giving it much importance. The next day Highschool Castle Underworld. In the chestnut's room you could see how he barely woke up due to the rays of the sun. When he woke up he smiled when he saw Koneko and Taka hugging him with a smile, even though they were asleep. Hey wake up, we have to go to class said Issei gently moving his 2 companions. Then 5 more minutes, Taka said in her sleep. 5 minutes later, irony. Tauka and Koneko woke up with difficulty, but the latter, seeing Issei, threw herself at him and hugged him and kissed him. "I missed you," Issei exclaimed, Koneko clinging to the brown-haired boy. "And I love you," Koneko said Issei, and then kissed his lowly, "But change because we have to be in class in exactly 39 minutes, take a bath if you want, and I'll go prepare breakfast." Poor cow. Issei was walking quietly without being observed by all the girls with looks of desire and by the boys with looks of respect and hatred. At that moment Koneko and Tauka arrive. It must be said that at the moment they saw Tauka they had a slight hope that she didn't have a boyfriend, but those hopes vanished when they saw how she clung to Issei's left arm and also how Koneko clung to the brunette's right arm. After a few minutes Issei was already in his classroom, waiting for the teacher, still being observed by everyone, which made him very uncomfortable. "Go to the student council, there they will give you your uniform," exclaimed Issei, receiving an affirmative from Tauka. The teacher arrived in the classroom and started taking. "Issei Haidu Daiho el professor." "Present," exclaimed the albino without giving it much importance. Was everyone's reaction upon hearing what the albino said. "What? You look like you saw a ghost." The smiling albino exclaimed, a smile that made all the girls blush. "Ah well guys." Saji arrives and hands him a sheet of paper and whispers something to him and leaves. "It seems that today we will have a new student." Looks towards the door. "Come in and introduce yourself to everyone," said the sensei with a smile. "Hello, good morning everyone, my name is Tauka Kirishima." This made all the males in the classroom shout with euphoria at seeing Tauka's beauty and with slight hopes that they might have a chance with her. "And I already have a boyfriend," Tauka exclaimed, looking at the albino out of the corner of her eye with a blush. It broke the hearts of many and dashed the hopes of others. The classes went on normally except for the albino, who was sleeping, which the teacher didn't take into account, one less to explain to, and he also assumed that it must have been hard to lose his parents. Issei's mental space. The albino was walking in a place that seemed to be his accommodation in Tokyo. "Long time no see, Issei-kun," exclaimed a feminine voice with a seductive tone. "Rias-san," exclaimed the albino, between surprised and scared because it was still difficult for him to see her, the one who betrayed him like Rainer did. "What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Are you still afraid of me?" the purple-haired girl exclaimed, appearing behind Issei and then kissing the albino's neck. "How could I not be careful with you after you tried to eat me, and if that weren't enough, you're always in my head literally," exclaimed the albino with irony. "Does that bother you?" the purple-haired girl said again, looking Issei in the eyes. "Not completely, but I still don't trust you completely, don't be offended, but I have to be careful with you," exclaimed the brown-haired boy, already nervous when he saw how her eyes activated her Kagyun. Issei thought the worst when he saw how she activated her Kagyun, but he calmed down when he saw how she deactivated her Kagyun except for her eyes. "You know, Issei-kun, at first I thought you were just a perverted idiot and that you would serve me as food," she exclaimed, somewhat embarrassed. "And that's what," Issei exclaimed without understanding much of what Rias-san was saying. "But the time that passed and the fact that I was in your head for exactly 4 months, I think I fell in love with you," said Rias, blushing a lot. For his part, Issei was totally in shock and couldn't even say a single word. This made Rias sad, thinking that Issei was looking for a way to tell her that he didn't love her without hurting her, or so she thought when she felt a pressure on her lips. Rias opened her eyes, totally surprised to see that Issei had kissed her. The kiss transmitted a great feeling of love and tenderness. Once the kiss was over, they both looked at each other quite blushed. "Does that mean you accept me?" Rias asked, blushing. "Of course, Rias-san," he said, hugging her. The cult club. All the members of the occult research club were having a meeting. The reason was the faction meeting that would be in about 5 days, and they had to be ready and prepared, but obviously Issei's absence was evident fact that depressed everyone. Koneko is not in the meeting. Issei prisoner hall. Issei was sleeping in his seat. Math classes made everyone fall asleep, but the teacher didn't care because who knows, but he acted totally calm, serene, and dark-skinned. After finishing the horrible math class came the history class and then the physics-chemistry class. It must be said that the albino did not wake up even as a joke. The only thing that woke him up was the sound of the bell that announced a recess or whatever they call it. The first thing Issei did was leave the class before giving a big yawn while Tauka clung to his left arm and they walked towards the dining room. After eating, Tauka left with her friends and Issei went to the patio and lay down under the shade of a tree and then fell asleep. Hours later. Yawn, I slept so well, damn, look at the time, damn, I have to hurry. Issei runs out remembering that he has a date with Yurit tonight at 7 o'clock and it was 6:23. Lucky I already made the reservation in France beforehand, thought the albino as he ran like a soul chasing the devil. After a few minutes Issei was already dressed in a black tuxedo suit, white shirt, tie, black pants and shoes and a rose in his hand. Honestly, I feel weird dressed like this, but for Yura it will be worth it, thought the albino, creating a magic circle before disappearing and reappearing outside Yura's apartment. Time jumped 10 minutes later. Issei and Yura were already in Paris, France. In this way we entered a restaurant. A relay still intricate. Once they ate, they walked along the Champs-Élysées in Paris, and before leaving, they went up the Eiffel Tower. What did you think about the evening, my love? Issei asked with a smile, hugging Yura from behind, contemplating the landscape that the tower offered. Translation. Que avez-vous pensé de la soirée, mon amour? What do you think of the night, my love? Je pense que c'était fantastique, merci mon Issei exclamó Yura besando a Issei contemplando la belle noche en Paris. Translation. I thought it was fantastic, thank you my Issei, exclaimed Yura, kissing Issei while contemplating the beautiful night in Paris. Surprises. Issei, Koneko and Toka were already on their way to their respective classes at Kuo Academy, but at that moment Issei has to go to the occult research club with Koneko because he had to inform the retreat of a very important meeting. Occult research club. Issei entered accompanied by Koneko who was clinging to the albino's arm. This fact made Rias, Akeno and Asia sad, but then they got angry with Koneko. I perceive a degree of hostility against Koneko, exclaimed the serious albino, making Rias, Akeno and Asia stop feeling hatred towards Koneko. Issei-senpai, what was that you wanted to tell us? Asked the smiling lowly albina. Ah yeah right. Well you should already know that there will be a meeting of the factions, right, said the albino addressing the retreat, who was surprised to hear Issei's words, implying that she didn't know a thing. You really are an idiot, said Issei, making a facepalm. Well it doesn't matter, the meeting will take place here at the Cow Academy, it will be in 4 days, so until then trio of idiots was the only thing Issei said before leaving the classroom, or at least that's what he thought when he felt the edge of 2 swords on his neck. Xenovia, Kiba, lower your swords right now. Exclaimed the albino, somewhat pissed off. Not until you apologize to Butchu, exclaimed the serious blonde. Why don't you go book yourself somewhere else? I have more important things to do, pretty boy. Issei exclaimed tiredly. Apologize to Rias Butchu or face the consequences, exclaimed Xenovia angrily. Lower your sword or you'll end up really badly off, don't come screwing me because I can screw you 1,000 times worse, exclaimed Issei, raising his aura and activating his Kagyun, pointing it at the stomachs of the 2 Gremory knights. Either you lower your swords or I won't answer, exclaimed Issei, already quite angry. Issei-senpai, calm down, exclaimed Koneko, worried about the albino. Badge, it's okay just because you say so, Koneko-chan, exclaimed Issei, fading his aura and deactivating his Kagyun. Xenovia and Kiba were sweating profusely, maybe it wasn't the best idea to challenge Issei. Nuo, seriously, don't tell me, note the sarcasm. Goodbye to the useless party and goodbye to Koneko-chan. See you in the afternoon, I hope. Exclaimed the albino, thoughtfully walking out the door. I know I had to do something, he assumes a thoughtful posture. Yes run, exclaimed Drake, really scared. In the distance they saw Tiamat running after Issei with a dangerous aura. Shit, runs away. After a few minutes Issei had ended up in the main hall of the academy, with a light blue-haired girl on top of him face down. You will not escape, exclaimed Tiamat, hugging him. Tiamat, everyone is looking at us. Exclaimed the brown-haired boy, trying to get out of Tiamat's grip. At this, Drake just cried out of nerves and begged not to be killed because Issei would be saved. You won't escape, Issei exclaimed, turning to the brown-haired boy. For whatever you want, don't castrate me, mggggg. The chestnut was silenced by a kiss from Tiamat. At this, several women looked with envy towards Tiamat and the men with hatred and respect towards Issei. Idiot, why did you leave without saying anything? Exclaimed Tiamat, rubbing her breasts unintentionally on Issei's face. Ah yes, sarcasm. Sorry Tiamat, it's just that I had things to do, stands up, but please don't get angry with fear, said Issei, looking at Tiamat. HMPP, let's see if I forgive you, if gets close to her ear. You promise me you'll have balls with me, exclaimed Tiamat with a very seductive tone. Well that's fine, exclaimed the albino. At that moment Tiamat hugged him and then kissed him. Underworld Gremory Castle. In an office you can see the most annoying Mao of the underworld apart from Serafol finishing his last row of papers to seal. Ready, that was the last one, I thought it would never end, exclaimed the Mao nervously. Surzich's Sama, here is the rest of the paperwork, exclaimed Grafia, going to where the Mao. No, I'm leaving, he tries to jump out the window, but Grafia catches him and sinks the Mao's head into her chest. If you finish this paperwork, approaches his ear, we could have fun tonight, exclaimed Grafia with a perverted tone, causing the Mao to rush out like lightning to sign and review the papers, while a trickle of blood ran down his nose. It always works, Grafia exclaimed, smiling, although I think it will this time. While the Mayu was reviewing the papers he sees one in particular, and that was a request for a change of nobility, and those who requested that were the girls from the traitor Phoenix's former entourage, and what caught his attention the most was who they wanted as their new king. Dear friend inserts meme. It was the only thing the Mayu said before asking Grafia for something. How Academy Issei's classroom. Shit class whispered Issei writing down what the teacher said. Excuse me sensei, what did you say? Issei asked the math sensei. I won't repeat it twice exclaimed the sensei. Gaddis exclaimed Issei Ardo. What did he say? Exclaimed the sensei angrily. I won't repeat it twice Issei exclaimed with a smile. Class. Oh. To the principal's office, exclaimed the teacher. Okay, Issei said as he opened the window and jumped out. Son of a bitch whispered the bucking teacher. Ice's child. Naturally I like all subjects except math, physics and literature, I get bored Issei thought sitting under the shade of a tree. At that a magic circle appeared in front of Issei. What's wrong Surziches? Issei exclaimed with his eyes closed and his hands behind his head, using them as a pillow while he was lying on a tree. Well, I come to deliver your assigned retinue to you, exclaimed Surziches. I'll leave it for wait what? Issei exclaimed standing up at this and sees Razor's former entourage behind Surziches, they are my assigned entourage. Issei asked Surziches. Yes, Surziches exclaimed. Hey girls let's play a fun game, I'll run, and if they catch me I'll become their new king, and if not they'll have to look for someone else, Issei exclaimed before starting to run and being chased by all the girls. Minutes later. None of the Phoenix girls had even touched the albino, sadly believing that Issei would not accept being their king. They were about to leave when a white glow made them turn around. Well from now on you are the leader of the Phoenix retinue, and here are your evil pieces, so you have another retinue looks at the time, and sees that it's getting dark well I'm going because I have to do something said Surziches as he disappeared in a magic circle. Issei-sama, why did he agree to be our king if we couldn't even catch him? Ravel asked. Because I simply like you, and I would also like to be with you, go to my house, here are the keys, bye exclaimed Issei before running like Naruto. The cult club hall. Inside you could see all the club members talking quietly while Koneko was eating a snack. To which the albino entered the room, opening the door with a kick. Hello Buckers hello Koneko-chan Issei exclaimed, hugging the albino loli. Rias and the other girls except Xenovia were dying of jealousy towards Koneko. Remember Gremory tomorrow is the faction meeting, goodbye exclaimed Issei before disappearing. Problems? Already at the meeting of the factions. All the faction leaders were already at the meeting. Angels. Gabriel and Michael. Fallen. Azazel and Penemu. Demons. Surziches and Seraphol. The same for the Gremory and Citri entourages who were with their respective kings. Apart from the companion there was Vali who only went because they wouldn't stop bothering him. The only one missing was Issei and his assigned entourage. TSK when that idiot arrives Penemu thought angry but anxious to see Issei again. Yes, I hope he hurry up exclaimed Gabriel, equally anxious to see Issei again. At this Issei enters the room, opening the doors with a kick. He arrives with his entourage, with Tiamat and accompanied by Toka. Well first of all don't bother me for being late, and that's more than grateful that I came, I only came to see Gabriel and Penemu, the rest I don't give a damn about exclaimed Issei sitting on a chair in the middle of Gabriel and Penemu while Tiamat sat on his legs. A few minutes passed until the attack of those sorcerers occurred and Vali started to go and defeat those sorcerers. They must rescue Gasper, Rias go with Issei exclaimed the Siskin. And when I said I wanted to go with that conceited and hypocritical girl Issei exclaimed angrily. At this Rias just looked down in pain and sadness, the question is it true? Koneko-chan may be in danger, exclaimed Grafia. Sons of okay, I'll put up with that idiot just for Koneko, and that Gasper, whoever he is exclaimed the albino remembering. At this Rias and Issei teleported inside the club. Issei, I wanted interrupted. Shut up, I said I would put up with you, not that I would forgive you. Now hurry up, turtle, exclaimed the albino, activating his Kagyun and his Gulai. A few minutes passed and Issei had already released Koneko and Gasper, the latter ran to hug Rias and cry while hugging her, Koneko just ran to Issei to hug him and kiss him. When they returned they saw Azazel fighting Kateria Leviathan while Vali was attacking the faction leaders. Until you finally show your face, son of Lucifer exclaimed Issei with a smile. Until you finally come I was getting bored exclaimed Vali, but Issei was entertained looking at the generous attributes of Kateria, who upon realizing the lustful look of the albino blushes, and when Azazel was about to stick his trident in Kateria's chest, Issei appears in front of Azazel, stopping the trident with his right hand destroying it. Stop there Azazel, she's mine exclaimed Issei looking at Azazel with anger. This, good, Azazel exclaimed, but at that moment Vali attacked him, sending him to the ground and tearing off his left arm. Obviously Kateria won't want to go with you, she falls silent as she sees Kateria hug Issei from behind and kiss him. Damn Don Juan, exclaimed Volley angrily. You said something, exclaimed Issei. Son of a bitch, Volley exclaimed angrily. No more than you, said Issei with a big smile. Divide boost. That was the sounds of the divine diving and the boosted gear. Faced with this, Issei only materialized his boosted gear. And the fight begins. Volley begins to attack him with great force, to which Issei only dodges his blows while thinking about what he was going to eat today and stops the kicks with his Kagyun. Tell me, son of Lucifer, when you're going to fight seriously, exclaimed Issei, stopping, because if you start fighting like a child, wanting to look strong, I'll finish you off once and for all. TSK as you wish, it seems you are stronger than I thought. Start to release great power. Much better, said Issei before launching himself at Volley. Both dragons began to release great power in the middle of the battle, leaving everyone stunned. Each blow the two gave each other created a shock wave that caused multiple cracks to appear in nearby buildings and thousands of cracks in the barrier. At that moment Issei hits Volley's helmet, destroying it immediately, sending it flying and crashing into some trees. You really are strong, Volley said with a big smile. Damn masochist, Issei exclaimed with disgust before Volley punched him in the stomach and kicked him in the face. This is how Katarina and Seraphol's pieces are sung. Hello, Issei said, jumping to his feet. Seraphol, tell me what you're doing tomorrow night. I and nothing, Is-chan. Why do you ask? Asked the blushing Mao. Because I'm inviting you on a date, after all I promised you, said Issei with a smile. Volley, seeing this, only had a large vein appear on his forehead. Why the hell are you such a womanizer? Volley exclaimed, but with a woman's voice. She covers her mouth upon hearing his voice. I already knew you were a woman, said Issei looking at Volley. Idiot, Volley exclaimed before disappearing. So what you told me was to make Volley reveal his true identity, Seraphol exclaimed somewhat sadly. Hardly, but what I told you is true after all I promised, exclaimed Issei, kissing Seraphol, making all his girls jealous, so he kissed all the others. Somewhere in cow. DSK, that damn womanizer knows I'm a woman, exclaimed Volley, revealing his true appearance. I may have to kill him, she exclaimed. Even if you try, you won't be able to, Issei exclaimed behind her. At what moment, she said, but she stopped when she saw that Issei was looking at the sky. What do you see? The stars, exclaimed Issei. What do you have? Volley asked. They are beautiful, looks at her just like your eyes, gets closer to her, so beautiful that they leave me hypnotized, exclaimed Issei, caressing Volley's cheek, making her blush, because Volley is a man's name. I won't tell you, she said, blushing, crossing her arms and looking away. At that precise moment Issei saw that she had a chill from the cold wind. So a grey scarf appeared, which was the one she used to not get cold in Tokyo, so it was impregnated with his cologne, so without saying anything, he wrapped his scarf around Volley's neck, surprising her and making her blush. Keep it turns around, it looks better on you, exclaimed Issei, jumping out of the clearing, opening a portal in his free fall, disappearing. At that moment Volley was blushing at the albinos present, and without thinking she grabbed the scarf and inhaled the scented head. It's Issei, she exclaimed, blushing. Damn idiot, I hate you, but I love you. Divine diving. Wow, if he conquered her heart, he must really be very compatible with dragons, Albion exclaimed in a woman's voice. Maybe he is the one. Boosted gear. Greg was sleeping until he woke up suddenly. Shit, it's true, I remembered why I fought with Albion. This is really going to get interesting for my partner, hahaha, I want to see his face, the dragon laughed. The next day. The teacher was taking attendance until it was Issei's turn. Hi do Issei die ho professor. Absent, Issei exclaimed with a smile. But I can see you from here, exclaimed the teacher, somewhat angry. Then why ask if he sees me? Issei exclaimed, making the old man even more angry. Then they announced to him that a new student will be coming, so he lets her in. Issei recognizes her instantly and sees that she is wearing a grey scarf. No way, thought Issei. The new student. First of all, by unanimous vote, Volley's new look is this one. His name will be Belial Akawashi, that will be his first and last name. Well, without further blah blah blah, let's begin. Chapter 5. A new student. No way, Issei thought, recognizing that appearance. Introduce yourself, exclaimed the smiling teacher. Well, first of all, my name is Belial Akawashi, she exclaimed, introducing herself. Well, since you're new, choose a student to guide you through the academy, exclaimed the smiling teacher. She immediately saw all the men in the classroom offering to guide her, but she focused her gaze on a certain albino who was leaning back in his chair with his arms on his head, looking at the ceiling. I want my guide to be Haidu, Issei, she exclaimed, blushing and smiling, but trying to be neutral. This made Issei almost fall off his chair in shock. In the tour. Belial hadn't said a single word, she was really nervous about being next to Issei, but she wanted to hide it by pretending indifference. At that moment the albino slipped on a puddle of water that was on the tile, but Issei grabbed her princess style. Thank you, she exclaimed nervously. You're welcome. Issei exclaimed with a rose in his mouth, handing it to Belial. She smelled the rose, inhaling its aroma, blushing at such a chivalrous act from the young albino. The two landed on the roof, both of them were left looking at that beautiful view it offered until a call from Surziches ruined the moment when not a perverted sissy. What's up Surziches? Issei exclaimed confused. What happens is that tonight you will go with Sona and Rias to finish off some renegade demons. Here is the location, hands him a paper. Goodbye, exclaimed the Siskin before cutting the transmission. DSK, what a pain, well I would love to spend more time here by your side, but we have to go back to the living room, exclaimed Issei with a smile, while hugging Belial from behind. What are you doing? She exclaimed nervously. You're cold, Issei exclaimed as he rested his head on her shoulder. And that's not true, he said while rubbing his arms. At that moment Issei takes out a blanket and puts it on the albino's shoulders while he continued to hug her, blushing her even more. Because sometimes you are a womanizer and very hateful, and other times you are a gentleman and very kind and friendly, exclaimed Belial blushing, turning to look at Issei. Who knows, sometimes I want to annoy people by being very funny and hateful to see their different facets and expressions. I'm not a womanizer, because if I were I wouldn't treat you like that. If I were a womanizer I would have cheated on Koneko with other women, exclaimed Issei rubbing his hands because of the cold. And it's not like that, Belial asked with a raised eyebrow. Of course not, because she knows everything, and it doesn't matter how many women or girlfriends I have, because the one who rules my heart is Koneko, exclaimed Issei with certainty. Besides, as a dragon, the harem is inevitable, exclaimed Issei with certainty, looking at the sky. It's going to rain, Issei thought. After that the two albinos entered the classroom, Issei hugging Belial from behind, resting his head on her shoulder. This fact made all the boys look at Issei with hatred. Hatred that vanished upon seeing Issei's challenging and murderous gaze. When I finish the torture I say the classes. Issei learned from Saji that Sona, Yura, Tsubaki, Koneko, Toka and their entourage had left early to get some things. At that moment something clicked in his mind and he remembered that today was his birthday. Wow, I didn't remember that today was my birthday, exclaimed Issei with a hand on his forehead. At that moment he looked out the window and saw that it was raining cats and dogs. Well, luckily I brought an umbrella. At that moment, when he was going down the stairs, all his friends intercepted him and took him into the theater club where they wished him a happy birthday. Congratulations bro, have a good time. Exclaimed Mitsuda, handing him a virtual reality game device. You can imagine what kind of game Mitsuda puts on it. Have a good time bro. Tenmotohama gives him some games for the virtual reality team, some were bloody, others were war games, others were horror games, and others were Eros. And so it went on for the whole period of time. Between all of them they had bought a cake for the birthday boy. After that, just at 1 AM everyone went home. They had already organized all the mess and had cleaned everything, leaving it impeccable. A certain albino was at home exhausted, leaning on the door with his back to bring all the girls who were drunk so much, centimeters EOXD. It was hard for him, but everything was fine, so he returned to the academy to close it and make sure everything was going well. Why is the academy so scary at night if during the day it's scary to walk around this prison? Issei wondered, who only moved around the academy thanks to a flashlight, because minutes ago the power went out, and although he could see well thanks to being a dragon, the excess alcohol didn't help lol. What's that? The albino wondered, seeing a figure lying in a student council chair in the distance. Belial? Issei wondered, looking at the albino sleeping peacefully on the sofa. Issei knew right away thanks to his vision that she had nowhere to stay here in the human world, so he carried her on his back as he took her home. Once there, Issei put her in bed, leaving her asleep. Then he remembered that he had to go with Rias to kill those demons because Sona was knocked out by excess alcohol. And there goes my night's rest, it's going to hell, just seeing Rias I think I'll throw up, the albino whispered, closing the door to the room where the albino was. When he left the room he saw a silhouette in the shadows. Bucket, Slendir is here, wait, I killed him, what the hell is he doing here? Issei thought, but he quickly identified the person. Sona. Issei let's help raise said Sona staggering. Sona, you rest and I'll go alone. Issei exclaimed, grabbing Sona to prevent her from falling. But, it's fine, I'll just ask you for something, exclaimed Sona blushing. What thing, asked Issei. At that Sona approaches Issei's ear and whispers something making the albino blush. On the mission. Issei was standing on a pile of zombie corpses, saying I'm the bucking master. They couldn't do something so simple, what a bunch of useless people. Issei exclaimed, jumping from the top of the mountain of corpses falling in front of Rias and her entourage, except for Koneko. We are not your imbecile, exclaimed Xenovia angrily. I already know that, you're not bucking masters like me, all of you except Koneko-chan are a bunch of idiots, exclaimed Issei turning around. At this Xenovia wanted to attack Issei, but he grabbed her and said. Are you sure you think Rias is doing the right thing? Issei exclaimed challengingly before disappearing. After that Issei was sitting on the back of his bed somewhat nervous. Well Issei, this is our gift for you, they all exclaimed, wearing tight leather suits showing their bodies. Hey, this is going to be a hectic night, Issei thought nervously. New teacher and maids. Chapter 6. A new teacher and maids. After having a great birthday, Issei woke up reluctantly because he had to go to classes, or rather to prison. I'm writing this chapter from prison with the help of my friends who are helping me so that the idiot teacher doesn't beat me up and take away my cell phone. But I have to. But Issei woke up very sore in the head from the excess of drinks and lack of sleep, plus the fantastic night he spent with his girls, except Belial. Issei rubbed his eyes because he couldn't see anything, then he saw his girls as well as those of his assigned entourage and the other girls naked with a suspicious sticky white liquid everywhere leaking from their vaginas, their butts, their mouths, and they were hugging him. Aj, what a good gift, Issei thought smiling, and it's good that I'm half dragon 242 times would be too much for anyone. He stands up. But not for a papu dragon like me, Issei thought, heading to the bathroom. At that he turns around and sees how Koneko got up with some difficulty walking. Good morning, Koneko kisses him on the lips. How did you wake up, exclaimed Issei with a smile. With some difficulty moving my legs after last night, but happy to have done that with you, exclaimed Koneko hugging Issei. After that Issei woke up all the other girls to bathe together. After that the girls left early to do some things. But the girls. These were standing in front of an old cafe. Ready, with this we will generate income, exclaimed Tako looking at the coffee. And the first customer will be. Oh, Issei. Meanwhile Issei, who was going to Belial's room to wake her up, sneezed out of nowhere. Wow, it seems someone is talking about me, Issei thought, smiling. When he entered Belial's room he saw her asleep while a thread of saliva ran down the corner of her lip. She's so cute, Issei thought, grabbing a handkerchief and heading towards her to wipe her saliva. But what happened neither he nor I expected it. Belial whispered to Issei in his sleep that he loved him. This left Issei in shock. At that moment Belial opened her eyes, finding Issei looking at her with a warm smile. Good morning, you woke up well. Issei exclaimed smiling. Good morning, said Belial blushing as she sat on the bed. How did I get here? She exclaimed confused. I brought you because you didn't seem comfortable sleeping on that bench, Issei exclaimed, worried. I see, Belial exclaimed, blushing. Well, Issei turned red as a tomato when he saw Belial better, who when he fell asleep, made her uniform move, increasing her cleavage, revealing her breasts. What's wrong with you? You suddenly turned red. She exclaimed, leaning down even more, revealing even more of her breasts. At that moment Issei wanted to turn around, but the carpet got tangled in his shoe, causing Issei to fall on top of the albino, giving her a kiss on the lips, while his left hand grabbed her right breast, and his right arm was to the side, avoiding falling on top of her completely. At that moment Issei tried to stand up, but Belial tangled her legs around Issei's waist and her arms around his neck, preventing him from separating from her, increasing the kiss. Once the lack of oxygen became present, both separated, very blushing. After that Issei stood up while looking at Belial. I love you, she whispered looking at Issei. And I love you, he exclaimed with his typical smile. After that they went down to breakfast and Issei gave her a woman's uniform that he had bought by mistake, but he was too lazy to return it, so he had it just in case one of his friends and or girlfriends needed one, and it happened to be Belial's size. After that they looked out the window and noticed that it was snowing, so Issei put a scarf around his neck and a trench coat over his uniform, because. I don't know. Belial put on the scarf that Issei gave him, some gloves that Issei bought him and some boots, those that have wool and are used by women, I don't know what they are called, I'm a man that Issei gave him, and a coat on top that Issei also bought him. We men buy and spend what is necessary to see them happy, at least I do. After that they left for the academy. The other girls would not go today because they had something to do, this includes Sona and Tsubaki. Prisoners Hall 2B. Issei was resting with his head resting on Belial's legs. In my opinion, I like being like this, it's comfortable. Then he saw that two students he knew would join his class. I thought they were in a different class, this must be the work of that stupid Rias, Issei thought with disgust. Those people were Asia and Xenovia. Asia blushed a lot when she saw Issei, but Issei simply settled more on Belial's legs, totally ignoring Asia, which made Xenovia angry. That's where the sensei comes in. Damn, how cold, you jujujudge, well whatever, exclaimed the sensei, are eating a small paper. Well, today you will have a new partner. Then a brunette with pigtails enters, she won't wear those strange shorts under her skirt. Well, my name is Shidu Arena, nice to meet you, she exclaimed with a smile, making the boys only look at Issei, who had gotten up from Belial's legs, opening his eyes wide at seeing the brunette with pigtails. Irina, exclaimed Issei, opening his eyes as wide as possible. Issei Kuun runs up to Issei, throwing herself at him, hugging him and knocking him to the ground, chair and everything. It happened to me, and I split my sides because of him, but it was worth it. Irina, your breasts, you're suffocating me, Irina. No are breathing, a help, exclaimed the albino, getting weaker and weaker as Irina suffocated him with her breasts and hugged him very tightly. Crack was heard in the living room when Irina released Issei and saw him unconscious. Oops, I went a little too far, Irina exclaimed, smiling with her tongue out. Then at the break. Why did you call me Xenovia? Irina exclaimed, intrigued. I don't want you to get together with Haidu, she exclaimed coldly. Because you say so, Irina exclaimed, surprised, trying not to slap Xenovia for what she said. Because he is a bad person, you should see how he treats Rias, but you and my classmates except Koneko, exclaimed Xenovia with venom in her words. That's logical after everything Issei-kun sacrificed for her and them to then betray him is obvious, don't you think? Besides, the only one of them who didn't betray her was Koneko-chan, that's why he loves her so much, exclaimed Irina, turning around angry and disappointed. Wait, what betrayal are you talking about? Xenovia exclaimed, surprised and seriously questioning her attitude towards the albino. After that, Irina didn't say anything else before leaving. After that, Xenovia looked for Issei everywhere. At that moment she saw that he was far from everyone and she spread her dragon wings and took flight. Xenovia followed him to a mountain on which there were 2 crosses, indicating that there were 2 deceased there. Issei sat on his knees as he looked at the graves with nostalgia. At that moment tears formed in Issei's eyes, but they did not fall. I don't cry because my eyes refuse to accept reality. I can't believe they died. I miss them. I miss them, Otu-san, Oka-san. I'm sorry for not having protected them. I'm sorry for not having taken care of them. But things happen for a reason, don't you believe? Ria's betrayal, their deaths, Koneko's love is what saved me from the darkness in my heart. Also the love of Sona, Tsubaki, Yura, Taka, Serafal, Gabriel, Penemu, Yasaka, Kunu, Tiamat and the other girls helped me move forward. Thank you for everything. Even if I don't see them, I know that they will be guiding me and supporting me, accompanying me at every moment. I thank you very much. I miss you very much. Even if you are not by my side, I will carry you with me inside this wounded heart. Issei finished trying to smile, but that smile turned into a grimace of sadness and tears for the first time after a while began to fall. But he didn't sob or anything, he just cried with a weak smile. Xenovia, upon hearing everything, begins to cry because of the words full of pain and nostalgia from the dragon ghoul. At that, Issei passes by Xenovia, who looked at him with tears in her eyes while she saw the albino with regret. I'm sorry for treating you like this. Hit me, yell at me or kill me if you want, get even for how I treated you, exclaimed Xenovia crying. But Issei simply hugged her, stifling her crying, who was shocked by Issei's act. Don't cry, you have nothing to do with all this, don't suffer for something that doesn't concern you, don't be afraid because I won't hurt you, and don't be scared because by my side you'll be safe, exclaimed the albino, caressing the blue-haired girl's head. She looked into his eyes and said. Because despite everything you don't cry or suffer, because you don't show pain, instead you help and take care of others, asked Xenovia, still hugging Issei. Well, because I got tired of crying and suffering, I got tired of showing pain, so I only show a sincere smile because I have a reason to do so. Now let's go back. Issei exclaimed, carrying Xenovia in his arms, flying to the academy. The next day. Issei was together with Xenovia, Irina, Taka, Belial and Serafal, who joined Issei's class. Well, today you will have a new history teacher, exclaimed the former history teacher. I'm going on vacation, see you never, damn it, runs away. When the new sensei Issei recognizes her instantly. Hello Rossweisse sensei, Issei exclaimed, smiling. Hello, Issei-kun, she exclaimed, hugging Issei and burying Issei's head in her breasts. I missed you, darling. And I love you, Ross-chan, whispers Issei. After prison, Issei became free, returning home. Welcome home, master. Exclaimed 45 maids, hugging the albino. Hey wait, what the hell is going on here? Issei thought this is Surzich's work, what a son of a what the buck, I'm not complaining. Do whatever you want with us, Issei-sama, they all exclaimed, blushing, looking at Issei. Well, the albino guides them to a room. Training. Chapter 7. Training. Issei, after welcoming his new maids, headed to the underworld to see a matter that the stupid Siskin and pervert Surzich's wanted to talk about. Underworld. Issei entered Surzich's office, kicking it open with his hands in the pockets of his trench coat. Issei was dressed in dress shoes and a fancy suit to sum it up. Hey, kid, why did you make me dress like this? It's uncomfortable, exclaimed the albino, sitting on a chair, moving back a little, putting his feet crossed on the Siskin's desk, putting his hands behind his neck and looking at the ceiling. Well, to give you the news of your promotion to Supreme Class Devil takes out a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. Congratulations Issei-kun, exclaimed the Redeed, pouring himself a glass while handing the bottle to Issei, who began to drink it from the spout. Ah, refreshing, exclaimed Issei as he finished the bottle. Age, how delicious. True, yes, taking the cup. Well, I made you come like this because apart from that, you will present yourself to the demonic society as a supreme class demon, and you will also be given your own evil pieces. All that because you helped the faction leaders with their problems, Michael exclaimed, smiling. Ah, thanks, although hunting Azazel's experiments I had problems with the Slender. Those sons of bitches don't want to stay dead, no matter how many times I kill them. The same with the killers that Michael sent me to capture to judge them, although the real problem is how the hell do I face Algo if I've never seen him in my life, and I don't want to do it, were Issei's words. Well, I don't know, but you can do it for sure, and if you can't, well, too bad, exclaimed Azazel, choosing his men. Hey, why don't you go buck your mother, son of a bitch, don't come bothering me. Issei exclaimed, looking angrily at Azazel. Let's see, try it, brat. Exclaimed Azazel, looking at Issei with a smile. Azazel, heard Issei, and I'll cut off what makes you a man. And Issei, stop messing around, or I'll leave you dry. Exclaimed Penemu, somewhat angry. Azazel just stood there trembling as he placed his hands on his crotch, covering it as he walked away from Penemu. Issei just stared at Penemu. I don't know what will happen first, but one thing is obvious, and that is that it is easier for Zareth to stop being a lollican than for me to dry out, don't you think? Issei exclaimed, smiling, looking to the side. Who is Zareth and who are you looking at? Serziches asked. Ah, whisper, should I broke the fourth wall, normal, no one important, but nah, it doesn't matter, exclaimed Issei, opening the door, running into thousands of photographers, slams it shut. I'd rather stay here, or I'll probably go blind there. There are so many paparazzi, TSK, no way. Serziches exclaimed. Well, opens the window, it's safer to go this way, exclaimed Issei, jumping. I don't hear any suggestions like that, was the only thing Azazel said, jumping. Nah, Sin, said the others, remaining jumping the same. At the ceremony party. Issei was chatting with some laughing high-class devils when he suddenly saw a green-haired girl that Issei instantly recognized. Xenovia, how long has it been? Issei exclaimed, hugging the green-haired girl from behind, surprising her. Issei, she whispered, blushing. Did you miss me? Issei asked. Of course, said Xenovia, turning to look at Issei in the eyes. You know I can't be without you. After that, Xenovia kisses him, leaving half the world and the author in shock, not that last one, XD. Nani was the only thing that everyone there said. Issei, after Xenovia kissed him, heard someone shout his name. Chan heard a female voice approaching. Should Issei thought, but he reacted too late because the only thing he saw was a black-haired girl with pigtails rushing at him. I missed you. Serafal, I'm also glad to see you, but you're suffocating me, exclaimed Issei, blue due to lack of air. Oh, I'm sorry, she exclaimed sadly. No problem, I'm still glad to see you, exclaimed Issei, but we just saw each other the day before yesterday. He said this with a drop of sweat in I'm style. But I missed you too much, exclaimed Serafal, pouting. It doesn't matter anymore, Issei exclaimed, smiling. Interference heard. Should not again, Issei exclaimed angrily. At that point the atmosphere becomes too heavy. What the hell? He exclaimed, looking everywhere. At that moment he saw in the distance a tall person with black hair and no eyes. I shit on the bitch, Issei thought. I'll have no choice but to get them all out of here, thought the albino, using a spell that made all the demons disappear. Issei only gulped, recognizing that being that existed before the universe. Z's Algo, Issei thought, sweating profusely. Hello boy, exclaimed the being of pure darkness. With every word Zalgo said, Issei's ears bled. I just came to tell you that all this is just beginning, soon the dimensions will fall and my brothers will be reborn. When that happens, everything in this world and in the others will be over. Goodbye, exclaimed Zalgo, disappearing. At that moment Slender gave Issei a big blow to the stomach, sending him flying several meters back, passing through 7 walls. You're a bastard. Issei exclaimed, activating his Kagyun. After that Issei sticks one of his tentacles into Slender's shoulder. At that, Slender stabs 3 of his tentacles into Issei's stomach, causing Issei to spit blood. Damn it, exclaimed Issei, activating his boosted gear. Die already. Boost, 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 explosion, dragon shoot. After that he gave a dragon shot directly to Slender, who was no longer there. Always disappearing before I kill him again, TSK, well since, exclaimed Issei. Days later. Issei accompanied by his assigned entourage and his other entourage. Issei's other entourage was made up of Ross Tower, Belial Pawn, Ancient Tower, Isaka Alphan, Penemu Pawn, Griselda Knight, Gabriel Alphal, Xenovia Alphal, Serafal Queen, Hauka Knight, Tiamat Queen, Ilmenhold Pawn x2, Valerie Alphal, Office Queen, They were going to train together with Sona with her entourage and unfortunately for Issei also with Rias. But not everything was bad when he met Rias because he would see his loli. Onu, stay away from the lawless. Issei. Rot grabs the lawless and runs away like a flash. Issei, at that moment something in his mind clicked and it was that in his entourage the only man was the "Hello Issei," Koneko exclaimed, hugging Issei and pressing her breasts on Issei's back. "Hey Keno, get off me." Issei exclaimed angrily. "I don't want to," she exclaimed, hugging Issei even more. "Shit," whispered Issei, walking with a Keno, hugging him. "Let me go." He said this last bit nervously as he felt the aura of his girls near his current position. "Noob," she exclaimed, clinging even more to Issei. Issei felt more and more the auras of his girls and knowing them they were able to kill a Keno and punish Issei. Shit was the only thing Issei thought before using a magic circle to disappear. Where Issei appeared really had not planned it because he appeared in a motel room. Double and triple shit, Issei thought with a Keno still on his back. You brought me to a motel, why would that be?" A Keno exclaimed, whispering in Issei's ear. "A Keno, let me go," Issei exclaimed, taking advantage of the fact that a Keno loosened her grip before running out the door. When he was passing by a room, some arms cornered him. Trying to escape from me," a Keno exclaimed amusedly. "Shit times 8," Issei thought, sweating. If you're wondering why Issei doesn't hurt a Keno, it's simple. He lost a bet. Issei just gulped before forcefully grabbing a Keno's breasts, causing her to moan loudly. When she was unprepared, Issei opened the window and jumped out. New goal. Escape from my rapist, Issei thought. I shouldn't have bet. Flashback. Issei was playing cards when suddenly a black-haired girl appeared in front of him. "And I'm going to hell," Issei exclaimed, standing up, but a Keno stopped him. "Wait, let's make a bet. If I win you won't be able to hurt me or Rias in Asia, and if I lose we won't forget about you," exclaimed a Keno, pleading. "DSK, okay," Issei exclaimed doubtfully. After a few rounds he lost. "And now keep your promise," exclaimed a Keno, hugging Issei. "I hate this," exclaimed Issei, annoyed. End of flashback. "I found you," a Keno exclaimed, hugging Issei from behind. "Fucking mother," Issei exclaimed excitedly. "You won't escape," exclaimed a Keno, putting Issei in the warehouse. Issei, in his attempt to do nothing with a Keno, grabbed the door. "Shit, at this rate this bitch is going to grape me," Issei thought. "Think idiot, think," thought Issei. But he couldn't think of anything because he didn't have much magic and power left since he had finished his training with Tannen an hour ago. At that, a Keno grabbed Issei and put him in the warehouse. When a Keno was about to grape Issei, the whole warehouse froze suddenly. "This magic shit, this is definitely worse," Issei thought, crying and I'm tears. "Get away from me," Issei exclaimed, a blue-haired girl in a general's suit and a suit of few friends. "Shit, this is worse," Issei exclaimed, nervously looking at a Keno and then at the blue-haired girl. "If I die, they'll build me a monument," was the only thing Issei thought when he saw a Keno charge her lightning bolts and the blue-haired girl emanate an aura of ice. Fights and Truths. Chapter 8. Fights and Truths. When a Keno was about to grape Issei, the whole warehouse froze suddenly. "This magic shit, this is definitely worse," Issei thought, crying and I'm tears. "Get away from me," Issei exclaimed, a blue-haired girl in a general's suit and a suit of few friends. "Shit, this is worse," Issei exclaimed, nervously looking at a Keno and then at the blue-haired girl. "If I die, they'll build me a monument," was the only thing Issei thought when he saw a Keno charge her lightning bolts and the blue-haired girl emanate an aura of ice. After that, the blue-haired girl throws an ice beam at a Keno, who in a quick movement dodged it, moving to the side, barely dodging that attack that ended up freezing several trees. The Keno threw a beam at her that the blue-haired girl stopped by creating a wall of ice, then she created ice spears that she threw at a Keno. She destroyed them with her rays, then launched a huge discharge against the blue-haired girl. The blue-haired girl stopped him by creating an ice dome around him, a dome that shattered into 1,000 pieces when it received the attack of those rays. The Keno was exhausted as a result of that devastating attack, but it would take her a few seconds to recover her magic. Issei just watched this sitting in a chair with a soda and popcorn. "Shit," stands up after Issei said that Issei ran away like a soul carried by the devil. Later in the battle, a Keno is seen frozen and unconscious and the blue-haired girl standing on a pillar of ice smiling. When she turned around she saw Issei walking away from the place, she was just saddened. "Dad, you always run away when I arrive," he said this sadly. "Who's running away?" exclaimed a male voice behind the blue-haired girl, hugging her from behind. "Issei," exclaimed the blushing blue-haired girl. "If my Esdeath is me, and thank you for saving me from that damn shameless rapist," exclaimed Issei, happy to meet Esdeath and angry to find a Keno. "No problem, after all I'll be there for you, and I'm surprised you didn't run away from me," Esdeath exclaimed, enjoying the albino's hug. "Close your eyes," Issei exclaimed, smiling. "Oh okay," said Esdeath, closing her eyes. At that, Issei put a blue diamond necklace around her neck. "Do you like it?" Issei asked. I love it, she exclaimed, pouncing on Issei and kissing him. The Keno was out of combat. Well, let's go, dear, exclaimed Issei, carrying her in his arms and disappearing. And reappearing in the Gremory castle. Wow, I think I appeared at the Siskin's mansion. Issei exclaimed, smiling. Who are you calling Siskin? Surziches exclaimed, smiling. You, exclaimed Issei, smiling, looking at Surziches. By the way, why is Grafie and Isan limping? Well, changing the subject, it seems you're already getting along well with Esdeith-san, Surziches exclaimed nervously. How quickly you changed the subject, Siskin, but well, what you do with your wife is none of my business, but leaving that aside, well, you saved me from a shameless rapist who was a Keno Himejima, exclaimed Issei, smiling. Issei, I have some news to give you, Esdeith exclaimed, blushing. Which one? Issei asked, confused. Imagine it's Issei. You're going to be a father, she exclaimed, blushing and very happy. Issei was speechless. I'm going to be a father, he starts saving all over the place, running, etc. Ha, congratulations, Issei-kun, exclaimed Surziches, smiling. Congratulations, Issei, exclaimed Grafia happily but with sore hips. Lemon skipped. Then they all took turns giving Issei pleasure. And so the physics class passed. At recess. Issei was walking alone near the occult room when Rias, Asia and Akeno cornered him. And they told him the same old shit, forgive us. Girls, I will dedicate a poem full of my feelings to you, Issei exclaimed, smiling. Which one? They asked hopefully. Book they sent me, book I left, and now why the buck are they asking about me? Issei exclaimed, continuing his calm walk. Maybe I lost my temper with you, but you lost someone who truly loved you. With this, Issei disappeared. This left everyone very hurt and in tears. Unexpected visit. Chapter 9. Unexpected visit. Another day started in Cow, and another day bucking my patience having to return to prison and put up with that quartet of idiots, was what Issei thought looking out the window, realizing that it had stopped snowing and winter was already leaving. It was no longer necessary to use his trench coat, but he had already submitted a request modifying his uniform. Now his trench coat belonged to his uniform, just as the scarf he gave to Belial now belonged to this uniform. Well, here we go again to that prison, Issei thought, standing up. Our academy. Issei arrived along with Koneko, his entourages, Belial, Esdeith, Irina, Xenovia and Tauka. On the way they went ahead because they had to go do something, cafeteria and maids. He was walking alone, but he felt persecuted and watched every second, and he also heard other footsteps other than his own, and at this hour there would be no other crazy person besides him to be walking through the forest at 5:46 am. It's relaxing for me, but then they tried to rob me, and I ended up robbing them. Haha, advantages of always carrying a butcher knife. At that moment Issei heard a couple of branches breaking, so he went to the source of the sound, and the only thing he saw was excessive saliva from that place and a mysterious transparent and sticky liquid. What the hell, Issei thought about that again. He felt someone's gaze. Logically one would run away, but pride is stronger. Issei ignored him and continued on his way. Again he felt footsteps behind him, and when he turned around he only saw the same sticky transparent liquid. What the hell is this? He exclaimed again, looking at that liquid. He thought he had seen this huge amount somewhere, but he couldn't remember where. Oh shit, Anna-senpai, exclaimed Issei before running away. Shit. It was the only thing Issei repeated while running like a fox. Behind him was a short-haired silver-haired girl in a student uniform, except for the skirt that was long, chasing Issei with a smile too lascivious on her face while she was salivating too much. How could I have been such an idiot? I thought I had lost her. Legs don't fail me now, exclaimed Issei, running like a demon. But since I'm a bucking troll. Issei tripped on a rock and rolled down the hill, hitting the back of his head and becoming stunned. Og my head, exclaimed Issei, rubbing his head while he saw Anna coming like a stampede of bulls towards the poor idiot. What are you waiting for? Run, bitch. Ruin. Were the wise words of Drake. At this Issei ran and ran without stopping. And I ran, very very far. But he had a limit that Anna did not have, so in a quick movement he injected her with a sleeping pill in the neck, which made him say. Go to sleep. After a few hours Issei woke up, it seemed to be night, and he found himself in a rather elegant room. New again, thought Issei, crying and I'm tears. At that moment he realizes that he didn't have his boxers on. Seriously, her and her strange fetishes, Issei thought doubtfully and nervously, I have to get out of here. But luck was not with him. At that moment Anna enters with that typical lascivious face as always. It was the only thing, Issei said nervously. Hello Issei-kun, so Issei was raped and died. Okay v. Hello Is-kun, Anna exclaimed, smiling, looking at Issei as she began to take off her clothes, revealing her beautiful and generous body. At this Issei gulped, blushing. Lemon skipped. Issei just smiled before going back to bucking Anna until the other day. The next day. Issei woke up peacefully while Anna hugged him with a big smile on her face. After a few minutes Anna woke up. "Oh right, Issei, me and Keijo, yes, that's how it's written, have enrolled in the Cow Academy," Anna exclaimed, smiling. "Ah, I see, way to my new key," Issei exclaimed excitedly. "Don't worry, I know very well that I won't be the first woman in your life, nor the last, but I will belong to your harem, just like Keijo," Anna exclaimed, smiling. "Something tells me that dark days are coming for me and my boss," exclaimed Issei nervously because Anna and Keijo seemed insatiable. Tokyo 1/3. Extra 1 Tokyo 1/3. "Hello Issei," exclaimed the albino loli, caressing Issei's cheek. Issei hugged Koneko from behind, while his head peeked out from the loli's shoulder, who took Issei by the cheek and kissed him on the lips. Issei, for his part, only reciprocated his loli's kiss because, to be honest, he became addicted to Koneko's lips. He also explained to her what he was going to do and that he was going on a trip to Tokyo, which she accepted because her beloved should have some time to relax. Narrator Issei. "I really felt strange traveling to Tokyo because I rarely went out or traveled anywhere, and the few times I went out I did it with my parents. Honestly, I feel very strange going alone, but I wanted to be with Koneko-chan, my Koneko-chan." She said, seeing a cafeteria called Antiku. "Honestly, I wasn't really interested in drinking coffee, but I was a bit hungry, so I went in. When I entered I saw that the place was quite cozy. I loved its design. I called a waitress with short blue hair and bangs that covered one of her eyes. I loved it sincerely, she was pretty and had a nice smile. "What would you like me to serve you?" he asked me with a smile. "The coffee with a sandwich please," I asked politely. "I'll bring it to you right away," he told me and left. Something caught my attention, and it was that it had a somewhat strange aroma. I had never smelled it before, but I decided not to take it too seriously and waited for my order, which arrived a few minutes later. When it arrived I thanked the waitress and started drinking coffee. Looking out the window I saw a purple hair walk by me. I turned my head a little and saw a girl with fine skin, a fine face, a warm smile, beautiful lips and a moderate body with red semi-framed glasses, which made her look even prettier. Honestly, I was speechless when I saw her, but again I smelled that aroma. It was as strange as it was. To tell the truth, I decided again to ignore it and drink coffee looking out the window. "Koneko," I murmured without realizing it, but I don't know why, but that purple-haired girl was looking at me out of the corner of my eye. I don't know why, but since I arrived she only drank coffee, and she hadn't even touched my sandwich. "Well thanks," I paid the waitress. "Hey, what's your name?" Taka Kirishima introduced herself. "Well, Taka-san, thank you, your coffee is very nice, excuse me," I said, leaving. After a few hours I was sitting in a park. I had nothing to do, I felt bored, and it still hurt me that the girls, Rias and the others Koneko, had betrayed me in such a vile way. Ouch, I heard a moan and saw that purple-haired girl who had fallen, knocking over her shopping bag. "Are you okay?" I asked, helping her stand up and taking her shopping bag. "Just a little confused," she said, adjusting her glasses. "Linda," I thought, "well, if you want, I'll walk her home." "Thank you, if it's not too much trouble," he said, smiling. "No, it's no bother," I said, accompanying her. "Edo, what is your name?" "Rise," me said, walking, smiling. "Nice name," I told him, but I realized something. We were going to the poor neighborhoods. It honestly reminded me of the incident that happened with Rainer, and it brought back bad memories, to tell the truth. We arrived at a construction zone which surprised me because in the distance I saw Taka-san walking with a friend. "Then what are we doing here?" I asked, starting to get defensive. At that moment I saw how she approached me, and I heard her tell me that she was in love with me, but I also felt a deep pain in my arm, and then I opened my eyes and realized that she had bitten me. Shit, I thought before jumping, dodging what appeared to be red tentacles. "Wow, you've got reflexes," Issei-san said. Rise mockingly. "Ah, what a delight," said, licking Issei's blood. "Issei-san, you know. There's something I like more than reading. And that's ripping out the organs of someone who's trying to escape. There's nothing like that expression. You make me more excited. Now you're mine." At that moment Issei ran and by reflex he ducked, letting one of those tentacle-like things pass by, which destroyed a wall, but another one grabbed one of his legs and threw him, crashing him against some beams. "Curse," Issei said in pain, but again one of those tentacles approached him, and he almost dodged it, although it injured the side of his torso. "Not bad, Issei-san," said Rise in a mocking way and laughing non-stop. Issei was confused and still didn't have all his strength to fight, but it took him a while to realize, and when he did it was too late. Issei vomited blood when he felt his torso pierced by one of those red tentacles. Shit. After that Issei lost consciousness. "Ara is already dead, what a shame, I really liked you," said Rise mockingly, "you look appetizing and easy to digest." At that moment some beams fell on top of both of them, crushing them. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.